Hello everyone, it is Thursday 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time here on the island of Kauai, and it is time for Thursday Live Lessons. We are live. My name is Aldrine Guerrero, and I'm joined by Mr. Aaron, the voice knocker. Say what's up, Aaron?
What's up?
I'm by Kahai, the legend. Fergan, say what's up, Kahai?
What's up?
The three of us are here, and today's food coma is brought to you by Waipoli Deli. I had a huge bowl of beef stew today, so if I'm feeling a little lethargic, it's that. I blamed it on meatball sub last time, but today I'm the only person who ate that big beef stew, so I think the other two people in this room should keep me awake.
It's pretty hard to eat on Kauai without going into like some kind of like
food coma.
Or you get lethargic, right? Like somebody posted on Reddit, I think they're like, you know, it's Hawaii when you ask for extra salad and this is what you get, and it's like 2 serving of mac salad.
Mountain of salad.
It's like, no, you're not gonna get greens here. You're not gonna get a green salad.
But yes, it is Thursday Live Lesson, and how this works is you guys send us some questions, and we'll discuss them and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. We'll collectively put our brains together and come up with the best answer possible for you. Okay? And for those of you folks who are listening to this via our podcast, you guys can totally check out UU Plus to watch the video version. And you know, with that said, the video version UU Plus people, if you guys want to take this home with you, or or put it on your iPods or your phones, I guess. Who uses iPods nowadays? Like, yeah, your phones, and if you want to like play in the car on your commute to work, you can download this as a podcast over on iTunes. So let's get started. Kahai, hit me up with a question, buddy.
Devin asked, sorry, this is from last week.
Okay.
He sent me like a private message, and I was like, I'm sorry I didn't see it, before we could answer. How does a beginner approach learning a song that they like and want to learn, but don't have a tab or U plus video? Or I guess U video in general.
Okay. Okay, if we're talking just non-ukulele underground like related period, is that what we're talking about? Or just you
I think like, yeah, just like, I think we can assume that there isn't a video teaching it, and then there's no tab for it.
Okay. Look, most, if not, all like popular songs nowadays, you can find online, at least the chords, okay? So if you can find somehow find the chords to whatever song that you want to learn, keep those chords in mind. And then what I would do is I would listen to the song. It's gonna come down to you learning it by ear, basically. I would just take my hand and use the Z chord and just kind of strum along with the with the song, come up with some kind of strumming pattern or rhythm pattern that you're gonna be using. You want to just kind of emulate what the what the rhythm is doing. Maybe the guitar. Maybe it's in like an ukulele in there, or maybe there's a drum parts or keyboard, anything like that. Anything that would kind of keep a steady rhythm. It doesn't have to, be exactly what the actual song is doing, but you just need to do something that kind of keeps tempo. Okay, that's why on Friday, Hello Friday Jams, when we when we teach you guys the strumming pattern, it's like, oh, you can do this strumming pattern, you can take it easy and do this, because really all you need to do is find the downbeats. And you can pretty much play whatever song it is that you need to play. But if you, want to make it like exciting, if you don't want to make it too monotonous or boring, then that's when you start adding things like, up strums or chunks or rolls or anything like that. But if we want to stick to the basics, if you are, a beginner trying to learn a new song, I would just stick to like finding the downbeat. So I would listen to the song, put the Z chord on my left hand, just like find the downbeat. Okay? And this is what we do on Thursdays for the songs made easy, because the songs made easy are basically just down strums whenever we do those songs. So I would do the same exact thing. Find the beat. If maybe you're in your car or something, like if you don't want to sit down and practice, just listen to it in your car and just kind of clap along, or maybe tap your finger to the maybe not clap, not clap. Maybe like tap your steering wheel, whatever, like whatever you need, you can do to to kind of figure out the tempo or the timing of the song. That's that's great too. That's kind of what I did in the beginning. I would just kind of just either tap on my uke or tap wherever. I would just kind of see if I can find the time signature or the whatever rhythm pattern I could find in the song. And then, like I mentioned, you can pretty much Google whatever song and find the chords online. Okay, so you can do that. Look at the chords, and with your beat, the chords will pretty much tell you when to change, which word to change on, and just kind of follow the song sheet. But if you don't have a song sheet, so that's when it gets kind of hard. As a beginner, I would just that that's a hard as a beginner. If you're trying to learn a song, there's no song sheet. Like, if you can't Google it now, very, very, very important, because you can pretty much Google everything. But if you can't find a Google song sheet, or like a ultimate guitar or whatever, like a link for it, or a tutorial on YouTube, if there's absolutely nothing, you still want to find the rhythm pattern. Okay, and then that's pretty much as far as you can go, because as a beginner, I'm assuming that's without the knowledge of, like, say, basic like music theory or anything like that, because once you get into music theory, that's when you can kind of figure out whatever sound you want. So as a beginner, I would I would put the song aside. I wouldn't forget about the song at all. I'd put the song aside for now. I would just kind of continue on, with my ukulele. That's kind of like saying, I really like While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I really like that song. So I'm gonna buy myself a new ukulele and I'm gonna learn While My Guitar Gently Weeps. It's like, you're not gonna learn that song unless, you learn all these things first. Okay? So same thing. If there's a song that you like, there's no song sheets, no nothing for it. There's really nothing you can do other than just keep playing your uke, keep playing other songs. Then you might maybe hear some things in other songs that might sound familiar to that one song that you're trying to figure out. And then, maybe you can try those chords out. But the more things that you learn, the more things that you experience, the more things that you play on your ukulele, the better you're going to get at trying to figure out what it is exactly, is going on with whatever song that you want to learn. Or want to pick up. We just before the camera started rolling, we were just talking about having relative pitch and having perfect pitch and all that. You don't necessarily need a relative pitch or perfect pitch to learn songs. You just kind of have to have a little bit of experience in playing your music and hearing like stuff that would sound familiar, because most songs are either in C, G, F, D, E. There's those very common keys that you would be playing in. So eventually you're gonna be playing in a key that that song is in, and it'll sound familiar, and you can just kind of go from there. But as a beginner, just keep learning. You can just kind of have fun with the uke for now. To forget about it, just put it in the back burner. I said not to forget about it. Just put it aside. Don't forget about it. Put it aside. Put it in the back burner. And then learn a bunch of stuff for now, and then come back to it. If you're still kind of having a little bit of hard time, learn some more, then get back to it. Then learn some more, then get back to it. That song's not going anywhere. Okay, you don't have to learn that song right then and there, unless like you're playing for maybe like a wedding, or playing for the president. Unless it's something extremely important like that, or playing for the queen. I don't know. Oh no, it's Devin, right? So president. Unless you're playing for President Trump, like in some one of his functions and stuff, and I see no real need to kind of learn stuff right now, so you can kind of put in the back burner and until you're in the right skill level to be able to tackle something like that without sheets. What do you guys think? Sounds kind of long.
Yeah. Well, you can always have fun with it. Like I remember in the beginning. I only knew like a handful of chords, and I would listen to songs and I would just figure out, like, just pick out the melody of it. Mm-hmm. And that's like, that's pretty much playing the song.
That's true.
Like if there's like a riff or something, I'll figure out like a single note, melody that sounds like it. Like, you just play random notes and try to find ones that match. Mm-hmm. So even like if you were playing like Brown Eyed Girl, right? So that's like a harmony. Yeah. But I would just figure out one note. Yeah. Yeah. I don't need the two. Yeah, right, I just like, as long as it sounds like it. Yeah. Like that's good enough. Like if you're a beginner that's playing music. Right. And if you can play it in time with the recording, it's like you're playing along with it, and you're doing as much as you can musically, to have fun and
but that
play
still
the
kind of
song.
takes a little bit of like of knowing your ukulele, like knowing like
but
how
I
to
mean,
kind of pick and stuff.
I
Like,
mean, if you can kind of fumble around and kind of figure it out,
I
like
think,
even without any knowledge about music theory or anything, right? You know,
I'm focusing on the word beginner.
That's why. That's why. So like, if you're
kind of fumble around.
if you're a beginner, just
feel it out.
find notes that match.
Yeah.
Like that's important.
Well, like for intermediate players, they might go immediately to like finding the scale, right, for that. But for a beginner, they could just like really just go up and down the fretboard until they land on a note that is like,
sounds familiar.
oh, that is the like that sounds like the
That's
note
one
that
of the
we're playing.
notes. Keep that in mind, and then
And-
find another one. That's one of the notes. Keep that in mind, and then kind of build off of that.
I really think that like the sooner you practice ear training and the sooner you practice like listening and tuning or like trying to imitate your ukulele to the song, like the better it is, like the faster you'll grow, because like from there you kind of like you pick up more things that are happening into the music because you start listening more intently, right? With like the desire to learn the song eventually.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's you can totally do that. Just kind of feel it around and stuff. But it once it starts to kind of get frustrating because it's going to be like you're waiting for that one part and then you're playing that one note to see if you can match to it, because it's hard to just kind of like match like the first time around. You're gonna have 5 tries, 10 tries, 20 tries until you can be confident enough to say that is the note right there. And meanwhile, I just don't think people should be like putting like a lot of effort into this one thing that might not even be attainable like at that point. I think it's kind of important to sure, play around with the song, try to figure it out if you can, but I wouldn't like lose like precious like practice time. I could just be practicing these things and then go back to it and then kind of have an easier time that way. And meanwhile, I'm like learning new songs, learning new things.
I think I wouldn't get angry about not figuring it out.
Yeah,
because like
it gets frustrating though. You know what I mean? Like if you're sitting there for however long and you're like, what is it? What is that? Because I get frustrated. Now I'm like,
but
I think it was
like,
pretty good.
But part of it is kind of fun.
Yeah,
like,
it is. Yeah, that's why I said until it turns frustrating. Like, go ahead and do it until you get kind of frustrated.
Well, I think like if you're a beginner and all you're doing is this, right? Like, and just like waiting for that note to like the right note to hit, like where it's like, oh, there's this note. Like you don't even have to know the name of the note. It's just like, oh, this note is the same. Like finding that note too is it can be frustrating if you can't find it. Like if you feel like you've gone all over the place and you just can't find it, but once you do find it too, it kind of is like a
gratifying.
Yeah, it is. It
like,
is.
Oh, I hit it. I finally got it. Like and for me at least, like that feels like if I just learn like one chord of a song, usually like if I learn like by ear training or like by listening for a song, if I learn just one chord of a song, I'm not gonna stop there and be like, oh, I got one chord. I'm gonna be like,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out. Since I got one chord, I'm gonna figure
out as much as you can. Yeah.
And I think it is easier. Like you learn theory or you learn like chord families and stuff like that. But if you're a beginner, I would suggest just trying it, and then like if you do get frustrated, then that's when you can be like, okay, that's it.
You need to stop. Yeah.
Put it to the side.
Yeah, and totally forgot. Like when I was like kind of starting up, like I would only play parts that I knew in songs and stuff. Like for example, like surf. We always use this. Like how to play surf, but there's way more chords than just a C, A minor, F, like G7. Once that part came up, I would just be like, oh, okay, just gonna go like this, or maybe just like Bura sunset, Alamoana and the Kaiser Bowl. Everybody
and then
goes
jump back in.
back to it. So yeah, you guys are definitely right. Just play whatever you can figure out, or just figure out whatever you can, and then just kind of have fun with it, because it is fun. It is satisfying.
I think if and like Aaron said too, right? I think you're saying like it doesn't even need to be exactly what's happening in the song. It could be like
close.
It's just you finding like notes that fit in the song, and then you coming up with your own like little
being able to play along with it like in
thing.
any way that you can. It like it feels fun, especially when you're a beginner, because there's no expectation.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true.
You know, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to like do it for anybody else to perform. You're just doing it for yourself. Like, oh, I figured that out. You know, that's like one of the most fun parts of being a beginner.
Yeah, and like you just did right now with surf, right? Like with that part you said you just hold it, but then right now too you kind of just like strum the rhythm to keep it going. Like that's stuff that I remember where there's like, oh, this song has like a really long guitar solo, so I'm just standing here not doing it. And then that's kind of where it's like, but I'm bored, so I'm gonna like kind of
like fool around or something.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try and pick, even though there's a guitar solo going on. Like, don't do this with real people, like, because it's rude, right? Like to pick over somebody. Right. But like, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna try and like, it's not the solo, but I'm gonna try and pick something else too.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's much easier now to just repeat a song. You know, because you have the MP3 and you can go back to exactly that spot and just repeat it, or you can use like other things on the internet. There are like looping kind of features where you can just load up a song and just loop a little clip of it and just use your ukulele to figure it out. Like it's so much easier compared to like we had cassette tapes and rewind and there's hold it for the same amount of time.
Or like, I had a CD, like, I bought the On Fire CD, and I've told this story before, but, like, CD players didn't have good, like, seeks, you know, like, where you could, like, seek, like, during the song. Yeah. And you would kind of have to, like, press the fast forward button, like, just, you know, like, just a little bit, because if you pressed it all the way, it would skip to the next song. Yeah. Oh, man, it used to be so frustrating.
So many
times. Like, try to rewind it, and then, like, I had to like be careful not to press it too much, or else it'll like restart the whole song.
If like the picking isn't like in the middle of the song,
and then like okay, now I have to press fast forward and I have to like make sure that that it doesn't go forward. It used to be super frustrating. So you guys are super lucky.
You guys don't know how good you have.
A recurring meme at my house is that I've become like the old man that yells at sky. These young kids will never know.
I've used like stuff online that does like loop specific sections, and I've even like shortened it down to like where it's just 1 second repeating over and over and over.
Yeah, just trying to figure out.
Yeah, and it's like for a solo or for something, I'm just trying to find that one note, you know. And it's like I know like maybe the key that they're playing in or the scale that they're playing in, but I don't know that note, so I just listen to that thing on repeat, and it's kind of like a droning sound almost, and you just kind of try to like, oh yeah, I think I found it. Like it matches up. Like this, it's like you play through all the notes. It's like this doesn't match. This doesn't match. It's like, oh, I got a matching pair. I figured it out.
It's a match.
Yeah.
So I can see where it's like it seems daunting, but it's once you start it, it's pretty fun. It is really fun to figure out songs and figure out stuff.
Yeah. Also, I would say it maybe don't be too ambitious. Like kind of start off with like easier songs. Try to figure out if you're into that, like trying to figure it out for yourself. Start off with easier songs. There's like a time right around when I was trying to learn guitar and ukulele that I was really into like 1950s music, and that was like the perfect stuff because like all the chord structures were about the same, and like
1, 6, 2, 5.
really simple kind of melodies and stuff. So if you stick to like that, like country has like a lot of the similar kind of elements to it. Really simple, stripped down kind of stuff where it's easy to pick out instruments.
Yeah, maybe that's what like made Kyle Creative Boys so like approachable like to ukulele players, because it's basically like a country, like a country band, right? Like with Ernie Cruz
and very like it wasn't like a full band. It was like,
it was just guitar and ukulele.
Yeah, with some percussion and stuff like that. So it's easy to pick out, each instrument and what it's doing. So
I think and if you're like a kid listening to the Kyle Creator Boys, at least this is how I remembered like elementary, middle school for us, is like you learn the strumming first, you learn the chords and stuff, and then it's kind of just like, oh, this guy's doing like this type of picking. I think I can do that. You start learning like the picking, and then you could hear like there's like kids in my middle school who they would learn like it's like the picking to those songs, or they would get pretty spot on with the picking. So it is like natural progression of learning chords and then picking afterwards and kind of just growing.
I remember those kids in high school. They used to be so mean. It's like, oh, how do you like, I'm not gonna say his name. Say his name. You're like, oh,
like you would ask them.
Call him Bob. He's like, hey Bob, like, how do you play the picking for Kavika? And like Kavika is like, it's like if you can play that picking, then you're like the man. Like you're like the man in the ukulele. It's like, oh, like how do you play Bob? How do you play Kavika? It's like, oh, I don't know how to play that. And then like walks away going, like, wow, what a guy. Like,
didn't want to share.
That's the riff, by the way. He's like, oh, I don't know how to play that. Like just, like, and walks away as he plays it. I was like, wow, that's kind of mean. Like, what? Maybe
you could have just said that you didn't want to teach me.
Yeah, exactly. You could have just said. But I think it was that like made me go like, one day I'm gonna be as good as him.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just share it all.
I'm gonna share all of it.
I think in 5th grade, like we had ukuleles brought to the class, and then like kids started bringing their own ukuleles and playing, like and learning by themselves. And it's like kind of like a virus where it's like one kid learned like the picking to Opihiman, and then it's like 2 kids, and 3 kids, and then that's like pretty much all you hear during recess is just the picking. So it's like, that's I had like some nicer classmates who I think like if you ask them like, oh, how do you play that, they'd be like, oh yeah, it's kind of like this. But so you guys probably have seen a few videos with him, but Kaniho, Rando Jimenez, like he plays bass for some of the lessons that that we've put out. He's like my best friend since high school, and we actually started playing the ukulele around the same time. Granted, I played it like back in 4th grade, Silver Line High School like group that played Polly Wally Doodle, like that those stories. Anyway, I stopped playing ukulele, and then I met Kaniho when I was in 8th grade. And then he was, he had his soprano Kamaku ukulele, and I'm like, oh, I used to play one of those, and he's like, really? So then we started learning together, and then basically everything I learned, and I found this like kind of newfound passion because I had somebody learning it with me, and he wasn't judgy, or whatever, and I would kind of like learn, and that's when I developed my ear, and I'd teach him everything that that I would figure out on those Kyle Creative Boy CDs. And then he'd teach me whatever, and he'd teach me whatever he'd learn from like say his grandpa or whatever. But like one summer he went to like summer school with this guy named Ken, and Ken knows the picking for Noho Pai Pai, and we all know that's like a pretty hard picking. And I'm like, man, I've always wanted to learn that, Kaniho. And he's like, like I kind of don't want to teach it to you. I was like, why? And he's like, I want this to be something that I know that you don't. I'm like, wow, what a guy! We're still best friends, by the way. I was like, what a guy! And so I went and like I tried so hard, like, and I learned it
because of that.
because of it, just rubbing his face. And then here's the kicker. I found that he was playing something wrong on that picking. I'm like, oh, I know how to play that part. I know how to play that part. But I was like, and I'm gonna show it to you.
Yeah.
He's like, and ever since then, he's like, oh, I'm gonna play bass now. For real, that's the story. Like I played ukulele and kind of showed him that like I guess with like some hard work like that I could I could go do that, and he didn't want to put like the hard work in there at the time, and then he's like, you just be the uke player, then I'm going to play bass. And he stopped playing bass that day. He stopped playing bass. It was like, oh, I stopped playing ukulele. He started playing bass.
But he is really good at bass.
He's very, very good at bass. His grandpa's a bass player, and he learned a lot of stuff from him. Not to discredit anything, that he did for himself and stuff, but...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
He's one of those guys where he'll do the exact same thing for bass.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Like if he doesn't know how to do something, he'll listen to it over and over and figure it out.
He's like the Swiss Army knife for bass here on Kauai. So if you ever come to Kauai and see any of like the live bands and stuff, pretty high chance that the bass player is going to be Kaniho or Rando. Like he plays with a lot of bands because he's the most reliable. It's like they all know that he's gonna play it correctly.
He's like a super nice guy too.
Yeah.
Like
Don't be scared of the face tattoos.
Yeah. Well, like when you meet him, and
yeah.
every time afterwards, like whenever he comes, he always like hugs me and he's like, "Oh hey guy, what's up?" And it's like, I was like, "Oh yeah, Rando's awesome."
Yeah, he's a good guy. I'm not gonna. I think it'll be embarrassed if I just share more stories like about him. But yeah, he's a nice guy.
I like about him too is like we were like, oh Rando, come be in this video, and then he's like shy about it too.
He's like, well, do you gotta sing? I don't want to sing, but I just want to stay in the back and play my bass.
Like no, you kill it with bass though. He's like, oh.
Yeah, and his So Kahea, the girl who sang Aloha Oi, that's his girlfriend, pretty much his wife, right? Like, I mean, that's, you'll probably get mad at me for saying that, but they have like kids together and stuff. They just haven't tied the knot yet. But that video, they were super shy about doing that. And Kahea, like, she's not like a professional like musician. She just like sings at like their house for fun, And I'm like, Kahea, like your voice is so beautiful. We gotta share it. And look what happened. She got like over 1 million views on YouTube on Aloha Oi.
That's one of our highest views.
Exactly. I was like, Kahea, thank you so much for like coming out of your shell and just coming out of your house and spending some time with us and making this video.
What was that? What was the country song that he did too? He sang.
Oh,
right?
Your Man.
Yeah, and then when you heard that song, you're like, he is perfect for this song because he can do that low.
Oh no,
voice.
I jammed with him and my friend Kaili. And Kanio and Kaili, like they play that song, and I play that song with them. I'm like, Rando, we gotta do a lesson on this. Like, we gotta have your voice on the recording. And even then, he was kind of shy because remember when we were filming that, he's like, Aldrine, can you just like do something so I don't have to sing the whole thing? I'm like, no, dude, this is like your song. You're being featured in this song. And he's like, oh, I don't really want to.
Which is kind of why we threw that joke in there. Yeah.
The joke where like I think I put on his jacket and
he put on like
I put on his sunglasses and he put on, did I have a jacket? No, he had the hat.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, check it out. It's called Your Man by who's that by? I forget, but it's Kaniho did it, and his vocals are amazing. He's like a great baritone voice kind of guy. Anyway, I don't know how we got derailed.
Yeah. Going back to it, Devin asked a while ago, like, I guess talking about like trying to figure out a song by listening to it. Mm-hmm. He asked, are you talking about recognizing common chord progressions and emulating them?
See, even that I would feel would be like for already for an intermediate player, not a beginner. And I know Devin, you know how to play, and you're not a beginner, and I know that you're pretty much an intermediate player. Yeah, but
he actually said like, "Oh, I am a beginner."
Asking for a friend, kind of thing. So, yes, but that's if you're talking common chord progressions and stuff, you're already stepping into the realm of of music theory, and sure, like there's a lot of chord progressions that happen over and over again. I know Aaron mentioned 50s and stuff, and that's why I said like 1645 or 1625. It's pretty much like the format of like 1950s songs. So if you have played those chords before, if you've played that progression before, you kind of know what that progression sounds like. So if you hear a song that sounds like it has that kind of progression, you're automatically going to be like, let me try this, let me try these chords and play it, against this recording to see if it sounds good. And usually if you can find, the key that song's in, you can figure out the rest of the chords. And that's why I mentioned earlier that like, the more you play, the more, the more you'll be familiar with your instrument, the more you'll kind of hear things out and be able to figure things out. The more you play.
It's like another intermediate skill is like movable chord shapes.
Yeah.
And like once you learn that, if you like listen to a song and it sounds like 1-4-5, but you don't know like what. But when you try to play like C, F, and G in it, it doesn't sound right. Yeah. If you learn movable chord shapes, then you just move those same chords up and down the neck until you find where it matches.
Yeah. Okay. So for example, do you have your uke, Aaron? Can you play me a 1, 6, 4, 5, and D? So D, so, like 50 style, B minor, G, and okay. And for example, I know 1, 6, 2, 5 or 4, 5 in C, and I'm gonna I'm like, okay, well I've heard that before, so you'd be like, okay, that's not it. But then what Kai is saying, you can do movable chords, so I'm gonna like bar this, do. still. Keep moving it. There we go. So eventually, you'll hit it. You know, if you just do the movable chords up and down, and if it's a progression that you're kind of familiar with, you should be able to figure it out by movable chord shapes.
Yeah.
You're like, I know how to do that in C, but it's not that's the right key. You're like,
just do the same shapes.
I know,
even if you do it in F, it's like. Even if you do it in G, what's up? So that you can kind of hear Aaron's ukulele, because he's not playing it up here. So.
And it fits, yeah.
Yeah, and it fits.
So, yeah. All you did was just slide that same chord shape all the way up until it made its way to G.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's it.
So to answer your question, Devin, yeah, it would definitely help. You know, if you are familiar with chord progressions, and you know, if you're kind of if it's familiar. That's what I'm looking for. If it's familiar to you, like what the song that you're trying to figure out, if it's a progression that sounds familiar, try it out with something that you know. Even if it's not in the same key and stuff, you'll be able to figure it out if you just kind of move it around.
It's I feel I get impressed when like I hear or I see a musician who is like they don't know what the song is, and then they're trying to like jam with somebody, or they're listening to it, and then they just like, oh, like I got it down like really quickly, right? And yeah, even I get impressed, but it's like it really is most times that's what's happening is like they might not know like the song in that key, but they're like, oh, I know this other song that's pretty close, and it's in this other key.
I've heard similar things before, and so
I feel like I
have a clue based off of that.
Yeah, I feel like everything you learn is just like a reference in your library, and then when something comes up, if you want to learn some more, or if you're trying to tackle it, it's just like you go through your library and you find like the one that fits or the one that's closest to it, and be like, oh, this is pretty similar, I can use this.
Yeah. So usually musicians who can do that, they probably know a lot of songs.
Yeah.
You know, they've played with a lot of musicians. They played thousands and thousands of songs before. And so like a brand new song that they don't know sounds similar enough to a song that they have played that they can just like kind of latch onto it really quickly.
I mean, you're hearing something like Sunday Morning. You're like, it's like a 2-5-1. Like, I know how to play that. I just need to figure out what key it's in. You know, you can hear it. If you played it enough times, you're like, oh, what a virtual insanity. It's like, that's a 2-5-1 chord song. Like, it's the same thing as Sunday Morning.
I just told my dad that I was like, I think this song is it a 4-6-5-1 song, something like that. I told him like that, and he's like, how do you know that? Like, how can you just tell by listening to it? Because I didn't have. Like...
I work at Ukulele on the ground, Dad. Gosh,
I'm a real adult.
I don't think he would have said that if I had like my guitar or like an ukulele there to actually try it out.
Yeah.
But I was just like guessing, like I think the song is like in this pattern.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do you know that? And I was like, well, the second chord of the song, or that particular part, is a minor chord. And the last chord is the root chord. Yeah. So in that case, like the chord pattern that I know is 4-6-5-1. That goes like, where it goes back to the 1 and then it restarts all over again. And just like that's like I'm not that great where it's all I know is like that pattern and how to recognize major and minors. That's all I use for that too.
Yeah.
So it seems really daunting, but I don't think it's not unreachable. It's definitely something you can learn to do.
That's a good one. 4-6-5-1. Yeah. You know, speaking of people that you're like impressed with and stuff, and going back to high school, there's a guy. He still plays around here. His name is Ola, who we like to call him Macau. And Ola, he was like a legendary ukulele player. I was a freshman in high school. And he's like the senior, and I remember he used to be like, "Oh, yeah, he can play Stars and Stripes Forever in whatever key that you want him to play it in, because Stars and Stripes Forever used to play in F. But then we're like, so I didn't believe this, this rumor, this legend that like went around like in my school, and I'm like, so I actually met him, and I was like, oh, can you play it in G? He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Can you play it in A? He's like, yeah. I was like, you're not playing different keys, you're just moving it up. He's like, yeah, it's like
that's what
playing it in different keys.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
someday I'm gonna learn what that means, and we're gonna talk. But yeah, I remember that was like a very impressive thing, and I always go back to to that day where I met him, and he kind of showed me that that concept. Because sometimes when we do stuff like a little Friday Live Jam, I usually play Stand By Me in F, and that's the key that Kyle Curtis Boys did it in. But because we wanted to stick to the original, we're doing it in A, because that's what Benny King did his version in, and we wanted to do the Benny King version. But whenever we do a little Friday Live Jam, I kind of want to do the picking, and I want to do the Kyle Curtis Boys picking. So I just like bar this and make like an F there, and then I just play I just play the riff like. Instead of so it's the same exact thing, and I was just kind of emulating what Ola taught me a long time ago. And every time I do that, like I play something like the same riff but like in a different key, I always like kind of think Ola, and I think of Ola in my mind. I'm like, man, I remember my mind was blown like when I first saw that happen.
I would love to get together with like my elementary and middle school our like classmates, and the ones who could like really shred on the ukulele, and like talk to them again and like play ukulele with them, because like I remember stories like that too, where it's like I think I learned Hawaiian Superman in A minor, but everybody else was playing in G minor, and I was like, why is it not working? What's going on? What's happening? And then now like I feel like now I can be like, oh yeah, like I totally understand why I messed that up, or why I wasn't getting that right.
The G minor would be harder, like to do that riff in.
It's something like that. It's not, I forget.
No, A minor is right. You're absolutely right. A minor that's the key that you should be playing it in, because that's the original key, and it's like an E because it just goes.
I don't.
You do G minor, it's like. It's a lot of work.
I don't know why.
Probably, you could get the sheet music that way.
Maybe.
And the way that I learned was just from my dad, right? And my dad learned it from somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I could never, like, any song I learned from my dad, I could never be like, but that's the original way. It's like, no, my dad just learned it from one of his friends who comes down to the Shea Butter stand.
Yeah.
Like,
nice. That's all. He learned it right. That's what you get when you go to school of hard knocks.
Renee asked, this is kind of a different topic.
Yeah, we can move on.
Renee asked, how do you figure out your vocal range?
I am currently trying to figure that out. But it's
just sing your lowest note and sing your highest note
that you can, like without going falsetto. That's what that's what I would do. See, so I would do like the scales kind. Okay, so just do the C scale, for example, and then do that same exact thing. Like where you just kind of move it, up. It's like how we've been talking about the past, past few minutes of like kind of movable chord shapes. You can also do movable scale shapes. So this turns to, and you just kind of sing that, do re mi fa sol la ti do, re mi fa sol la ti do, re mi fa sol la ti do, until you can't reach a certain note without having to go falsetto. And then see if you can go as low as possible. For example, do a do ti la sol fa mi re do ti la sol fa mi. That's a low E is the lowest that I can do it. What I did was I played that an octave lower. So instead of going la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. I went do, which is a whole octave lower than do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi. That's the lowest that I can go. Randall can go way lower. Baby, lock the door and turn the lights down low. Put some music.
Randall has that voice like that's so low, it like rocks you. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Whoa.
You got into my bones. Ooh.
I play with Cuddy Hill at a local place called Rob's Good Times Grill, and we don't announce that we're gonna play that song. We never do. But like, so we just kind of start playing it, and then he hits that first line of "Baby, lock the door and turn the lights," and I swear to God that like every time he hits that note, at least 3 women will turn around in their chairs. We're like, what is going on stage right now?
Good work. Like he has a girlfriend, but good work.
I'm just
job.
saying. I'm like,
that's pretty impressive.
Oh, there's a Monster Hunter reference. Thank God.
I would probably say use like a piano.
Yeah.
If you have one.
Yeah, if you have one.
Or like
but I mean
piano.
that I've kind of found like online like there's like a numbering system for piano, so like middle C is C4. So you could figure out like, you know, if you know all of the notes on your piano, you could figure out the note that's your lowest note and the number of that, and then your highest note, and that's your vocal range.
Yeah, that's more
and
accurate.
So just kind of play the piano and do that. I'll put it in the chat too. But like, so there are websites now that you can just plug in that vocal range, and it will tell you songs that fit within that vocal range. So one of them is called myvocalrange.com. So so you can plug in exactly like what your lowest note is and what your highest note is, and it'll give you a whole list of
that is cool
songs that fit within your vocal range.
See, I wish we had that too. We had that when we were kids too. Still the old man yelling at the sky.
So easy now.
So easy now,
so
you young
easy.
kids.
Well, yesterday we were talking, me, Aaron, and Ryan were talking about BPMs of songs. And even that, like, if you want to, like, figure out the tempo of a song, you can, like, look it up. And there's, like, a ton of websites that are like, oh, yeah, if the song is popular enough, it's like, oh, yeah, that BPM of that song is around this number or this thing.
I mean, like, and you know, any phone, you can just get an app where you can just like tap the thing, it'll tell you the beat.
I think some people have a hard time doing tap tempo though to figuring it out too. So.
Yeah, because I guess you have to be pretty on, you know, to get like the exact tempo.
Or you have to know what you're listening for too, right? If you don't know, like you're listening for drums or listening to the downbeat.
I remember Aaron, I think it was you who I think you were like training, you were like running or something, and you would make a playlist of like songs that were in like a certain tempo, and you would just
certain
play,
BPM.
Like you just play those songs while you're running, so that like you kind of pace your running to that. Yeah,
the ideal cadence for running, long distance running, is 90 beats per minute. So if you get songs that are right around that, like, and you'll notice too, like if you go on YouTube and see like, oh, my running playlist, all of the songs are around 90.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. People just don't really realize that kind of thing. But
That's
it's
cool.
like, yeah,
I like that you did.
all the songs that like make you like feel like, oh yeah, I'm energized. It's probably because it's around 90 beats per minute. Yeah.
Have you so you were like using the scale earlier, and you were saying do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that there's some countries where people don't understand like how we do that? How we can just like move do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do around? Because some countries, like when you sing do, it has to be C.
Oh yeah. I heard that.
Yeah, and so like some people are like, why are you singing like an F sharp with do? Doesn't make sense. And that kind of like goes back to, there's like some pretty interesting videos about that, but it kind of goes back to like old romantic music, I think, or like old like what is it, like like middle-aged music where they have like the monks singing.
We should talk like that in an office. Like it's in the key of T. It's in T flat. Next time you ask me like, oh, what is the song? Oh, what key is the song in? It's in Do. It's in Do.
I was like, I gotta go grab the Sound of Music again and try to figure that one out.
It's in Ray Sharp. T sharp. Yeah, that last that Phil Collins song's in Ray Sharp.
Yeah. So Renee said, I have a really hard time with tap tempo. How do you figure out the counts? And I guess she says 3s, 2s, and 4s. I don't know if she means maybe like the time signature, right? Like counting in like 1, 2, 3 or and 1, 2, 3, 4 or like.
I see. Well, you can usually like count, like do the 1, 2, 3, 4, and if it's in 3, you're gonna feel that it's already started again, like another bar has already started again, or another chord has already been played, on after the third beat. So like that fourth beat would be the 1. Most songs, if not a good majority of songs, usually have an emphasis on beat 1 or the upbeat of 1 or something, but 1 is usually pretty dominant.
Can you maybe like demo it, like play something where it would?
So normal. This would be in 4/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
So you're also changing chords on that one.
Yeah,
and
even if I don't
emphasizing that strum.
Even if I don't change chords in that on that 1, it can it'll still be 4. Because if you were to count 1, 2, 3 to that, okay, I can't like pat my head and rub my stomach, so you're gonna have to count 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna start strumming and then count 1, 2, 3 to it. Okay,
that's really hard.
Yeah,
I'll try.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so it already sounds kind of
doesn't
off.
sync up. With
so
it.
if you're getting confused by that, just count out loud. Like if it's not in 4 and you're counting in 4, it's going to sound off. And if it's in 3. If it's in 4 and you're counting in 3, it's also going to sound off. So same thing. I'm going to play a 3. So.
You want me to count first?
Yeah, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Like I'm trying to compensate by speeding up the
1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3.
Yeah. It's like so hard that I'm trying to like compensate.
I was like, ain't no way I'm gonna play it and sing it, sing it for. There's no way I'm gonna be able to do that. So, if you do get confused, just count out loud. That would be the best way to do it, because it's not impossible, and I know some people can do it. Drummers, can, because there's like certain songs where like some people are like in 3 and then the drummer's like playing in 4.
Polyrhythms. Where there's several different rhythms working against each other.
Yeah, so some people can and stuff, but for the most part, it's going to sound weird and different.
Yeah, and then she asked, what about 1, 2? And 1, 2 is just 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, so 1, 2 can be interpreted as 4, and it's because 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Usually 2/4 songs are reserved for marches. Something like Stars and Stripes Forever. Like anything by John Philip Sousa. Like it's going to be that kind of marching tempo. So unless you're playing marching music, you're most likely going to be in 4/4 instead of 2/4.
It's like what you're doing earlier. You're doing 4/4.
Yeah.
But you're holding the chord, right? So it has 2 bars. So that makes it like 8 counts.
Yeah.
And even then, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2.
Yeah.
But it's just like the different counts, like 4/4 or 2/4 or any of those. It's like the same thing, but it's just to make it easier to count for the musician, to hear like where that 1 is.
Yeah. So it's so count out loud. You're gonna hear it.
And kind of listen for the emphasis, because that's what it was.
Yeah. And
then can you play that again, like the 4/4?
So.
hear that. Dun, 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 dun. That kind of signifies the start of it, right? So now try play the 3.
Oh.
Yeah, there's that. Dun, 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 dun.
1, 2, 3. See if I can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't. It's hard.
Yeah,
It's so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how drummers like. There's some amazing drummers that can.
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
it's just kind of just how it's
what do I do with
how
all these
time
time
is
signatures?
segmented in between those emphasis notes, right? So like with the 4 there, you could fit 4 beats with between those emphasis notes, and with the 3 you could fit 3 beats within the emphasis notes in between the emphasis notes. So yeah,
that's my best answer. Just count out loud.
And,
You'll hear it.
And for right now, you're like playing the song and counting. But if she's just trying to figure out like the tempo and like what time signature it is, just focus on counting, or just focus on, if you're doing tempo, just focus on tapping your foot or clapping your hands, something. Don't worry about your like put it down. It makes it like a lot easier if you're not trying to, when you are playing and you're trying to figure out like rhythm or something. It's kind of, you're trying to activate 2 parts of your brain. So I can see where that'll get confusing too.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be times where it's gonna be kind of tough because there are songs that switch between like 4/4 and then go to 3/4, or maybe even 2, like a single 2/4. We played Purple Rain before, and Purple Rain has a like a single 2/4 measure, and then it goes to like another 4/4. So that might be a little bit confusing, but those are kind of rare. So most songs are either 3/4 or 4/4 usually. Anybody else? Any other questions? Sorry, like there was I put my water bottle here, and you can kind of see it like on the frame, and I was like, what is that thing on the frame? It's like, oh, it's my water bottle.
Okay, Renee also asked, so what is the chord progression of Another Day in Paradise? And like talking about like 2/4/5 or whatever.
but it's in A flat. That's why.
No, I forgot how to play that song.
F minor, E flat, and B flat minor 7.
Okay. So it's going to be 6 because it goes 3. They say 3. So because it's in the key of E flat. It's in
No.
it's in that key. No,
A-
sorry,
A-
A flat.
A flat.
So sorry. So it would be 6. So it'd be 6, 5, 2. 6, 5, 2. Yeah, 6, 5, 2. So. Yeah. But then you're using that 6 because the 6 is a minor relative to 1, so it's kind of like starting off with 1 but with a minor. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could
treat
just
that as a
label it
1
as a minor.
Yeah. So it is officially a 6, 5, 2. That is a different chord progression. You don't hear that one too often.
And you never get to the 1 until the bridge.
Yeah, the bridge. Yeah.
The very somber sounding.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, though. Yeah, it talks about like homeless people, and it's a sad song. He wants to keep it sad and very dark.
Yeah. And it's I think we talked about it before, where it's pretty rare to have a song with just all minors or all majors. So there's gonna be a mix of some, and with that song, like that middle chord is a major chord. So from there you can kind of like dissect, like, oh yeah, it's like where these other chords were laid, and this is how they all fit together.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the chorus there is a droning bass note, so it's actually like F minor. So it's like, as far as the closest to the original recording, it's like F minor but with an F bass, and then it goes to E flat but with an F bass. So it's actually this chord, and then it goes to B flat minor with with another F bass. So as long as you keep having that F in there, So, oh, think twice. It's just another day for you and me in paradise. Oh. Yeah, it sounds kind of weird. But then, I mean, that's the bass to it's the bass's job to do that, and you can just kind of do the chords that we taught you. So the chords that we taught you on the lesson are absolutely correct. But I think if you're playing guitar or anything with like bass strings in it, you have to kind of keep that F in mind. Mm-hmm. And I know like some people are like, oh, it sounds a little bit off. It's because of that. It's because of the some people are like, oh, why does it sound weird, or why does it sound off tune or whatever? It's that bass, that droning F bass in there. And it's kind of cool because Phil Collins, if you listen to the original, it has that same exact like droning bass, like droning F bass note in there, and it's kind of cool. It makes a cool effect. The like, the homeless are really suffering, kind of,
or nothing's changing.
Things are changing, but there's this one like
one thing that's not changing.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
I think I think that's like a reason why, like, if you get into music, like, or not everybody, but it's like I think most people will start to respect bass players because it's like they realize like, oh man, you have a lot of power. Like with if you're playing a chord and a bass player like just it's like, hey, I want to change how the whole chord sounds. They can pick a different note and then it's gonna change the entire chord.
Yeah, and even if you're just like, so a chord is like 1, 3, 5. We know this, right? Most of the time, like a straight up bass player will almost always play the 1. Okay. If a bass player plays that 3, it's gonna sound different. That chord, say I'm playing G, and if the bass player decides to not play the G note for his bass line and decides to play B instead, that's gonna be a different, sound. Kind of like how this versus this sound. Because the bass note here, this is D. So imagine if the bass player wants to play the 1. This is actually like a G chord that starts with the 1, 3, 5. So the bass has the power to kind of change that chord around. And sometimes they don't even have to play the 1, 3, 5. Sometimes they want to play something crazy like that droning F note that Phil Collins does, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess it's the bass player's song.
I know. I know an example is like if somebody plays a C chord with like C, E, G, right?
Yeah.
And the bass player, like, instead of playing that C note, they play an A note. Then it's like A minor, like 7th, right?
That's cool.
So they can totally. And there's a bass player who said like, if you want to mess with your guitar players, this is what you can do, because they'll still be playing the chords, and then they'll be like, why is the bass different? What's going on? I don't understand.
Yeah. Oh wow, I've never thought about that. Maybe I should tell Kaniho, like, one of these days play the relative minor, like what people are, play that note instead.
What?
Like we're gonna have fun with this with that this weekend. Thank you.
The video that I saw, like what he said was like, use it for rock and pop songs, and you use it on like I think the 3rd verse, right? So like
to make it sound different. Oh,
well, like it's like the first verse sets it up. The second verse sets like, or first verse is just like the first time people are listening to it. The second time sets like a precedent.
Yeah.
And then if you do it the 3rd time, then people are like, "Whoa, this is different. This is like
that 3rd verse on it kind of.
This is interesting.
Kind of off tune. It's dissonant. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. It depends on what you lay down, like on the bottom. So the bass player has the power to do that. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I want to tell Kanio just play the. Oh, I can't wait now. I can't wait. Because it's true. Play an A over C major chord, even if it's a major chord. If that bass player plays an A, it becomes an A minor 7.
I mean, like, and if you hear like a pretty funky bass line, then it's like, that is what the bass player is doing, right? They're not playing the chord. They're not playing the root note of the chord. They're like, I'm gonna play something a little different, and it's like, ooh, this is like, this is interesting.
Kind of changes the feel.
Yeah. Okay, well, that about does it for this this edition of Thursday Live Lessons. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions or anything like that you'd like to see answered here on Thursday Live Lessons, here is how you can ask your questions. You can email us at this email right here. Or click on that button right there if you're a UU Plus member, and I know you guys are. Click on that button right there, or email questions. Don't forget the S at ukuleleunderground.com, where you can post questions and videos in the UU Plus forums. We're always kind of checking out those forums and stuff and see what kind of questions are being answered and what kind of questions we can feature here on Thursday Live Lessons. If you're listening to this on the podcast, what are you waiting for? Come check out UU Plus so you can watch the video version of what you just listened to. So if you like all that information, but you're like, man, I wish I could have seen Aldrine do that F solo in A, or I wish I could have seen Aldrine play Stars and Stripes Forever in G or in A, like
you're not changing the key. You're just moving it up.
So there's so much more sense when you see it.
Yeah, when you see it, that's why. Like, it doesn't make sense, but when you just kind of hear it, like, oh, okay, well, I guess he's playing a different key. It's like, I am, but my fingers are not doing anything different. Basically, is what it's trippy. So if you're like, how does that work? Go to UU Plus. Sign up for UU Plus to take your ukulele playing to the next level and find out why that's what I mean by that. Okay, so on behalf of everyone here, please stay tuned to here on Ukulele Underground for Songs Made Easy, and then after that we have a one-on-one coaching. I gotta say it slow. One-on-one coaching right after that. And for those of you folks, because I know you guys are UU Plus members, those of you folks watching this, we have recently launched Ukulele Underground Plus. Is it UU Plus Private Lessons? Or is it just Ukulele Underground Private Lessons?
Yeah, just private lessons.
Yeah, private lessons here at Ukulele Underground Plus. And what that means is if you guys have ever joined us for our one-on-one coaching, one-on-one, it's like I deal with people one-on-one, but there's usually a bunch of people in the room, and then it's this person's turn, so this person gets to be up front with with me. I'm kind of teaching. But if you guys want a pure private lesson, we are now offering private lessons at no extra charge here at UU Plus. So if you've paid your UU Plus subscription, you can sign up now for a private lesson with yours truly. I am open on Mondays, Hawaii Standard Time, from I believe 9 to 12 p.m. So 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. They are in 15-minute blocks, so I can fit up to 3 people every hour. So that means there's room for 9 people every Monday, and then again on Friday from 2 to 4, I believe. So 2 to 4 on Fridays, 9 to 12, 2 to 4 p.m. So I can fit 6 people. So throughout the week, I can have up to 15, people for private lessons. And I know I've been getting some appointments already for people, that want to get some of that, take advantage of this private lesson stuff that we have here on UU Plus. But make sure to check that out. If you're working on anything and you want me to kind of see, and you don't want anybody to be there, or if there's like questions that you want to ask me that you're too shy, to ask anywhere else, or if you just kind of want to see what it's like to take a private lesson with yours truly, go ahead and go sign up for UU Plus private lessons. That's a brand new feature that we have here at Ukulele Underground.
I think this is a question. Devin asked if that's Hawaiian time.
Yes, Hawaiian Standard Time. So 9 a.m.
Not Hawaiian time, but
oh yeah.
There's a different connotation.
This guy, Devin, it's as if we don't start at 1 p.m. all the time. And for Thursday Live Lesson, we're always on time, right?
Like 1 to 1:05 usually, depending
always on time.
Yeah, depending if I can get.
Yeah. So is that Ashanti? Who did that song? So just like Ashanti, we are always on time. So that's 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mondays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. all Hawaii Standard Time. Just because Devin's asking, all Hawaii Standard Time. Sign up now. So go check that out.
Yeah.
Where did they go for that?
What? I put the link in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, what was that?
It's you're getting confused with what to say. It's Hawaii doesn't do daylight savings.
Yeah, we don't observe daylight savings time.
So just to be sure, always check what
Google.
It is to you, right?
Just go time in Hawaii, whatever. Yeah, and it'll show you what time it is now, and you can kind of make your adjustments.
Okay? And then if people can't make private lessons and one-on-one coaching, they don't have the time for those to get those appointments. you can always send us like videos or
Yeah,
pictures or questions. The link is still like, or it's showing at the bottom.
Click that button. Yeah, click that button.
Questions at Ukulele Underground.
Yeah, and for those of you folks who, you know, the time might not work for you, we are going to be opening up more times with hopefully more teachers as well. So it's not just me that you can book a private lesson with. We're gonna try to bring in more teachers to kind of do private lessons, and it's gonna be great. So this is kind of just the beginning where, like, you know, I'm gonna be doing the private lessons, but sooner or later we hope to get, you know, more notable teachers to be doing some private lessons as well. So you guys can take private lessons with those guys and stuff. Okay? So, stick around for Songs Made Easy, one-on-one coaching, and I'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Aloha.